You know how sometimes a new gadget comes out and it just feels different?
Mm.
Like maybe not just a small step up, but kind of a whole new angle.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Haiku, it feels a bit like that in the AI world right now.
Mm.
It's definitely making waves, promises some serious AI power, but like in a package that's surprisingly efficient, nimble even.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. And it's not just about the specs, is it? It's trying to get under the hood,
Yeah.
understand the thinking behind Haiku.
Right.
We've got quite a bit to sift through Anthropic's own materials, their announcements, some early benchmark stuff, how it stacks up price-wise.
And that new artifacts feature too.
Oh, yeah, artifacts, definitely. Plus some initial takes, comparisons, especially on how much info it can juggle at once, the context window.
So the mission today is
It's
basically,
just boil all this down, help you really get what makes this model a big deal without getting totally bogged down in, like, super technical jargon.
okay, sounds good. Let's start right there then, the core stuff. What makes Haiku? Well, Haiku? And how's it actually doing?
Well, the first thing that jumps out is Anthropic's focus on what they're calling a compact architecture.
Compact architecture.
Okay. Now, they haven't exactly published the full schematics, right?
Yeah.
But we can infer it probably means they've really optimized the AI's guts. Think like streamlined neural networks, maybe a more efficient way for data to flow through.
Uh-huh.
The upshot is it can chew through information really well without needing the, enormous server farms some of the bigger models demand.
So kind of like a sports car that's surprisingly good on gas, still got the power, just sips fuel.
That's a pretty good way to put it, actually, yeah. And the really interesting part, this smaller design doesn't seem to mean less capable. Not at all.
Oh.
In fact, some of the early tests, the benchmarks, show Haiku actually beating bigger models on certain tasks.
Really? Okay, that is interesting.
It really makes you question that old idea that bigger is always better in AI. And the benefit of needing less processing power is pretty clear, right? It should make it cheaper to run.
Which hopefully means more affordable for us users.
Exactly. Lower running costs, potentially lower prices. It makes sense.
Okay. Now, I keep hearing about low latency too. Why is that such a big deal?
Low latency. Yeah, that's super important for anything that needs quick interaction, real-time stuff.
Like,
Think about customer service chatbots, for instance. If there's a long pause after you ask something.
yeah, it's frustrating. Kills the conversation.
Right. Low latency means the AI responds almost instantly, makes the whole thing feel much more natural, more responsive. It's vital for those applications.
Gotcha.
But there's also this other point floating around about a slower output speed, something like 66 tokens per second.
Wait, slower. That sounds counterintuitive. Didn't we just talk about speed?
It does sound a bit odd at first glance, yeah. But some analysis suggests this might actually be, like, a deliberate choice.
Deliberate slowness.
Well, the thinking is, this slightly more measured pace might point to an architecture that's prioritizing, let's say, the quality and thoughtfulness of the output over just raw speed.
Okay.
Could be really useful for things like generating complex text or maybe writing code where getting it right is more critical than just spitting it out fast. It gives you, the user, a beat to review and refine as it comes out.
Interesting take. So not necessarily the fastest typist, but maybe the one who proofreads as they go.
Something like that, yeah. A different kind of speed, maybe?
Right.
Speed of thought versus speed of typing.
Okay, so how does all this, the efficiency, the performance, even the output speed, how does that affect someone deciding whether to, say, upgrade from the free Claude to Claude Pro?
Well, if you zoom out a bit and look at the choices users face, Haiku definitely shakes things up. Anthropic is clearly making a play here, positioning itself as a serious alternative to the big players, OpenAI's GPT-4, Google's Gemini.
Right, the competition's fierce.
And these performance points we're talking about, the efficient processing, the strong benchmarks, those become really important factors when you're trying to decide which tool fits best.
Because you want something that actually works well for what you need it to do, obviously.
Exactly. And the idea that you might get performance that's as good as or even better than some larger models, possibly for less money, that's a powerful draw, especially for businesses keeping an eye on the budget.
Makes sense.
Of course, OpenAI and Google aren't standing still. They're constantly updating too.
True. It's a moving target.
Absolutely. So users are constantly going to be comparing the latest features, the performance, the cost. It's an ongoing evaluation.
So Haiku's arrival isn't just, here's a new thing.
Mm.
It kind of forces everyone to reevaluate their current setup.
Precisely. And for Anthropic, it means they need a really clear and concise value proposition. They have to spell out why you'd choose Haiku. Is it the efficiency, the surprising power, the cost? They need to make that crystal clear so users can make smart choices as their own needs change.
Okay, let's get more specific then. The sources really play up its strength with real-time tasks. What gives it the edge there?
What's really catching attention is how well it seems to handle large amounts of data quickly, processing and analyzing it. The sources keep mentioning its ability to handle large data sets efficiently.
And why is that so important?
Well, think about businesses needing to make fast decisions based on what's happening right now. Getting timely insights from current data is critical. Imagine, say, a financial firm trying to track market shifts as they unfold. Haiku's speed could be a real game changer there.
So getting the analysis while it still matters, basically.
Exactly. And it's not just speed, it's also complexity. It's noted for being able to analyze complex financial documents.
Like regulatory filings or prospectuses, stuff like that.
Yeah, that kind of dense material. Think about the time and effort that could save in compliance or risk analysis just by getting quick, accurate insights from that stuff. Huge potential for efficiency gains.
And then there's this context window, the 200,000 token context window. That number just sounds astronomical.
It really is a massive leap. Just to give you a sense, 200,000 tokens, that's roughly the length of a pretty hefty novel.
Wow.
Most AI models right now have much shorter memories, you could say, so Haiku can hold on to and work with way more information in one go.
What does that mean in practice?
Huge implications for tasks needing long-term context. Think back to those customer service bots. With a window that big, it could potentially remember your entire conversation history.
Instead of forgetting what you said 5 minutes ago.
Exactly, leading to much more coherent and genuinely helpful interactions. It could follow complex, evolving discussions much better.
That kind of memory could really change the feel of interacting with AI, make it much less repetitive.
Definitely. Now, it's not just text either, is it? You mentioned multimedia earlier.
Ah, yes, the image and file analysis. So we can see now, sort of.
In a manner of speaking, yes. The support for image and file analysis seems significantly beefed up in Haiku. It broadens its skill set quite a bit.
How does that work? Can it look at a chart in a report?
That's the idea. The sources explain it can analyze large document sets by processing both the images inside, like charts, diagrams, photos, and the text around them simultaneously.
Okay, that could be incredibly useful.
Yeah, picture digging through a long business report full of graphs and tables. Haiku could potentially understand the visuals and the text together, giving you the whole picture much faster. Big time saver in corporate settings.
I can see that. Dealing with those dense visual reports takes ages. What about other file types?
It seems designed to handle various common formats, standard documents, maybe spreadsheets, presentations with multimedia elements.
So more versatile.
Right, you can feed it a wider range of stuff and get back summaries, maybe even visual explanations or key insights pulled from all of it. Think about education analyzing diagrams in textbooks, making them interactive maybe.
Yeah, lots of possibilities there. It's definitely becoming a more rounded assistant. Okay, let's switch to this Claude Artifacts thing. That sounds different. What is it?
Artifacts is, it's a really interesting feature. Quite innovative, actually. It changes how you interact with the AI's output.
Changes how?
Instead of just getting, a block of text or code spat out at the end, Artifacts creates more of a dynamic and collaborative workspace.
A workspace?
Yeah, you can actually view and edit the content Haiku generates, like right there in real time within the interface.
So you're not just passively receiving it, you can jump in and tweak it.
Exactly. The sources describe it as making the whole process much more streamlined and efficient. You can adjust things, modify the content directly, see the results immediately. It's iterative.
That sounds much more like collaboration.
That's the word they use. It fosters a symbiotic relationship between the user's creativity and the AI's generation.
I can see that being huge for creative types,
Yeah.
writers, coders, designers.
Absolutely. Content creators, marketers, educators too. Anyone who needs to really shape and refine an AI's output, tailor the message on the fly. It's a much more hands-on, flexible way to work with the AI.
Very cool. Okay, this all sounds great. Powerful, efficient, collaborative. How do people actually get their hands on Claude 3.5 Haiku? And what about the cost? We touched on affordability.
Good news is it's available right now, accessible through the regular Claude chatbot interface that people might already be familiar with. Pretty straightforward to start using.
Okay. Any catches?
Well, one thing mentioned is that because they expect high demand, there might be a daily message limit just to manage server load and ensure everyone gets fair access.
A limit. Does that mean the quality drops if you hit it or get near it?
Doesn't sound like it. The sources suggest the interaction quality itself remains robust. The model's efficiency helps there, presumably. The limit is more about managing volume.
Got it. And if you need more than the daily limit allows.
For those users, subscription options are available. They weren't the main focus of the materials we looked at, so we don't have specific price tiers in front of us. But upgrading would give you expanded capabilities, likely higher limits, or maybe no limits.
Right. The usual tiered access model.
Yeah.
Okay, so wrapping things up then. Claude 3.5 Haiku looks like a pretty significant move by Anthropic.
Yeah, I think so. Key takeaways seem to be that efficiency, the surprisingly strong performance for its size, that massive context window for memory, the new multimedia skills, and then this really unique artifacts feature for collaboration.
It definitely throws another strong contender into the ring. Makes the choice of AI tools even more interesting and probably more complex for users.
For sure. It's going to make people look again at what they're using and whether it still makes the most sense, given these new capabilities and the performance cost balance Haiku seems to offer.
So here's a final thought to leave folks with. Given this focus on efficiency and this interesting balance, Haiku strikes, fast processing but maybe more considered output speed. How might that shape how you approach things? Creative work, analyzing information in your own field. Are we maybe seeing a shift towards an AI partnership that values that kind of thoughtful refinement just as much as pure raw speed?
Yeah.
Something to chew on, perhaps?